Hi everybody, my name's Ronan Murdock. I'm the Leading to Business teacher here, and today we're going to look at the cash flow forecast. So for anybody in my classes, the page we're going to go to is 347 in the book, okay? So the first thing you're going to look out for when you see this question is actually want to make sure you understand the layout of it, right? So the reason I want us to look at this today is that it hasn't come up since 2017. So it's one of these questions for them as well in 2015. As well, students don't really quite understand it, that like they might get the basics of it, but you have to make sure that you understand it inside out if you want to get that H1 on it. So the first thing I'd always do, if you're looking at cash flow forecast, there's like 6 big steps. If you know these 6 questions, these sort of 6 key things, you'll be able to understand it, no problem. So if you follow me over here, these are the 6 main things I want us to look at, okay? First thing is you want to make sure you can understand it, like how it works. Second thing is, what they like to do, as they did in 2017, 2015, is they left a couple of them blank. You had to figure out what the blank figures were. Like they might leave one figure completely blank and then put a letter in its place and then say like, right, calculate what that letter is, and you to use your formulas and understanding to get it. So these two kind of link in together. Next thing then is you want to be able to spot problematic months. There's always been one. There's always been a month where the payments have been bigger than the receipts, and you have to spot that. Give them advice. Then at the end, know the benefits of the cash flow forecast and also be aware of any limitations that it may have. Okay, so we'll go through it. The first step here we want to make sure is that we actually understand the basics of it. Because I sometimes have students in the classes and they might kind of half know it, but they might do really, really simple mistakes, and that just boils down to the fact that they just don't understand how the thing works. So if you don't understand it, the first step, there's no point in looking at these steps here, okay? So we'll go over and we'll look at the basics of it now. So the first thing I'd always do, right, is this question 2015 was on your past papers. It's on page 347 in the books, okay? So the first thing you always do is, right, remember again, think of the word forecast, right? It's like a weather forecast. You're going to predict into the future. So if I was to prepare this cash flow forecast, I'd be doing this in September. So I'd be saying like, right, September, October, November, the 3 months lying ahead, and how do I think they're going to pan out? So the first thing I'd be looking at is like, right, what are my, I want to understand the breakdown of, right? So up here you have your total receipts. Now receipts, again, that's just your sales, the money coming in. Payments, money going out. So what we do is we get our receipts, take away our payments, and that will give us our net cash. Now what's really, really important to notice with this, okay, there's no minuses in this. Okay, so you ever see it's a deficit, okay, it's going to be in brackets. So see the way there, the money coming in was 70,000, money going out was 100,000. We've got brackets there, that's a negative, okay? Straight away, even to kind of jump ahead of it, but straight away you're like, right, that's a problematic month, okay? That's a month there where you see the money coming in is less than the money going out. Anyway, look at that there, that's our net cash. Now what I want to spot then after that, right, is the opening cash. Now look out for this, right? The opening cash is literally like, what's the amount of cash you have in the bank on the first day of the month. So here we see like, right, we're starting off on the 1st of October with 20 grand in the bank. However, looking at how our payment's going to go, I'll spend 30,000 more, and that'll leave me a problem there on the last day of October, let's say around the 30th, that I'll know that I'll have a closing cash of 10,000. Now again, spot it there guys, it's in brackets, so that's negative, it's a deficit. So if you spot it there, I start off the month with 20 grand, however I spent 30,000 euro more than what was coming in, and that means at the end of the month I'll be finishing with a deficit there of 10,000, right? So that's one thing you want to look out for. And what you notice then, this kind of boils back to like if you actually just understand it. Once you can understand this thing gets easy. So look at that, the closing cash for October is going to drag on to being the opening cash in November. So if you're looking there like, right, what's the cash on the 1st of November? We see there's 10,000. Everyone see it? It overlaps, okay? So it's like you finish off October 10,000 deficit, 1st of November you're going to have 10,000 deficit. Exact same scenario here. You finish off November, you've got 5,000 in the bank, okay? Positive 5,000 surplus. First day then, you finish off November, yeah, with 5,000 surplus. First day then December, it drags on, you've got that 5,000 surplus again. So you kind of want to make sure you've got those sort of things covered away. Other big thing I do, with like the second, like I open this up and leave it, right? Imagine I see something like this. I'd be literally taking out a red pen or whatever, and I'd be drawing a line between these two. And you need to make sure you understand this, right? So your first job, this comes up in June, draw a line here, okay? Now what that's going to do is that's going to remind you, right, this is the total. So this is like a summary of what we have from October to December. All right. Now, if you're paying attention here with this, right, let's add up the receipts for those 3 months. 70 plus 180 brings us up to 250, plus 90 brings us up to 340. That's how we get that there. So like everyone's seen that there, it's a summary, right? Summary of the 3 months. Same thing here, you've got total payments, add them up, it's going to bring us to 385. Again, we see we've got a problem. The money coming in is less than the money going out, and that's why that's in brackets there. Alright, so that's like the first big thing I do. The reason why is that they like leaving these blank, because it's a very good trick question, or it's a good way of finding out, like separating the good students from the really, really good students. That like here, you know, right, the closing cash on October will drag into be the opening cash in November, right? Same scenario here. But like what they like to do is, and they did this in 2017, they did in 2015, they always like to leave this one blank. And the reasoning behind it is, they know that students will be like, oh yeah, you just move it over. Not here, okay? That's why I want you to draw that line there, okay? Because what happens here is this is a summary of the total months, okay? So you don't drag that on. Now, let's go back to where we were, right? How do we actually calculate this? And that's actually what we'll jump on to the next stage, right? So like, I'll go through like the key things again. You want to make sure you have the basics there. That's going to be our summary, and yeah, a few other little things to spot, right? And these are 2 small things. The opening. So if we're going through, let's say to understand it, you want to make sure you've got like these 5 things. So you add these 3 up, yeah, that's that. Add these 3 up, yeah, that's that. No problem. Even when you add these 3 up here, you see that they all add up. Like negative 30 plus 15, negative 30 will leave us at negative 45. So you got to take these 3 off and be like, yeah, I understand that, I know where these figures came from. These 2 cause problems for students, right? Now what you want to know is, remember again, this is a summary of where we were on the 1st of October to, let's say, the 31st of December, right? So what this is this is the opening cash on the 1st of October. And this is going to be our closing cash on the 31st of December. Alright, let's look down. So I'll go again. This is our opening cash at the start, and this is our closing cash at the end. Alright, well let's look. Where's the opening cash to start? 1st of October. Back here. So everyone see this here? These 2 link in together. Alright, they'll always be the same. Guaranteed, right? That'll always be the same number. Same thing here. If you look at the closing cash in December, because remember it's a summary of these 3 months, these 2 will always be the same as well. See the way it's negative 25,000, okay? So they'll always be the same. Once you have that, you know, that's a good thing to have understand. Now I know the kind of, I was saying you want to understand it, but once you can understand it, like the second part here, if you follow me over here, it's just calculating the blank figures. That's the same. That's like, these 2 really, guys, are going to be linked together. Because once you understand this, you'll be able to calculate any of the blank figures. And that's what we're going to do now. So I want you guys just to pause for a minute. We're going to do the question 2015 now in a sec, okay? Okay, yeah. So with this here, right? If you're practicing this, so like one big thing I would advise, right, is that they left these blank, and this is what they did in 2015, and they called them here. They were like, right, this is A, this is B, and this is C. Okay, so the first thing there they wanted you to do was to calculate A. All right, now that's fairly easy, because if you see it there, what was the opening cash for November, and if you just remember there, the opening cash for November, sorry, the handwriting there, if opening cash for November is going to be the same as the closing cash for October. Alright, so if you think about it here, they'll always be the same. The opening cash for November will be the same as closing cash for October. So I know these 2 are going to be the same. So I can put that in there as negative 10,000. Now, when they asked this in 2015, I'll read it out exactly. It says, calculate the figures representing A, B, and C. Show your workings, all right? So explain that. Like if you put in that sentence explaining the opening cash for November is the same as the closing cash for October, and we can put that in then as 10,000 deficit, you've got that answer correct, okay? But just make sure you explain it. It says show your workings. They can't give you all the marks unless you show them the workings. You show them where you got your answers from. Because that's the first one done. Next one, net cash for December. Well again, okay, so this is the way I always remember, okay, if you're following me up here, your total receipts minus your total payments, that's going to give you the net cash, okay? So our total receipts here, minus our total payments, which is 120, so 90,000 minus 120 will give us negative 30,000. So if I slot this in, total receipts 90,000, minus our total payments, which is 120,000, that's going to give me a net cash of minus 30,000. Now remember, we don't put this minus, we put this in brackets, okay? So anytime you've got something negative, it goes in brackets. So I can slot that in there, and that's going to be 30,000. All right? And the last one then is the, they wanted the opening cash for, the opening cash there for the total months, right? So there's a couple of ways you can go about doing this, but even if we have it here, right, the net cash for December, which is plus, let's say, we call it C here, is our closing cash, which is 25,000 negative, right? So what I can always do is, there's two ways, okay? There's two ways to go about this question. First thing we know is that they want us to know the open cash overall. So straight away I can look over here, and I know that these two figures are always the same. So straight away I know that I can put this in as 20,000. The only little problem I have though, guys, right, is they said show your workings. So they want me to be able to show the examiner. So ever know where I got the 20,000 again? Remember, the opening cash in October will always be the same here. So I just pull that figure over, all right? The only little problem we're going to have is you still have to show this to the examiner. So if you're looking at it like this, even if any way you're doing with simultaneous equations or anything like that, or when you're taking them over and like that, if you let's say even if we that's one way of doing it. But even if I was to slot this in here, I'll show this in 20,000. I know then 45,000, negative 45 plus surplus or positive 20,000 will give me a deficit there of 25,000. So that's how I know that I've gotten the question right. Okay, but even if you want to do, you could like take these over to either side and show it that way as well. But that's like that's the way I go about that question. Right, the other little thing then, if we're going on through the calculations, you want to make sure you're able to identify the problematic months, okay? So one little thing here, if I'm going down through these stages here, what are the months that are going to cause me problems? Well, straight away I'm going to look at any month that my payments exceed my receipts. So you see this here, it's basically, guys, what your job is, look at the net cash and any year you see it in brackets. So I know that October and November are bad months. All I'm doing, right, there's no big secret to this here. All I'm doing is I'm straight away look down at my net cash, because that shows me how much money came in versus how much money went out, and I look for any negatives. And I know, right, those 2 months, they're both negative, they're my problematic months. Okay, so even if you're looking at like a box, let's say, we're going over and we're like, right, that's done, that's done, that's done. The other question then is they might ask you to be able to give them advice on any of the problems highlighted above. Now, there's a couple of answers you can say for all of them. Right? So like easy points you can say is that they should apply for a bank over. Now you see it in the notes as well, be more detailed, but the basics you'd say is like they should apply for a bank overdraft. They should even, sometimes it might be like in 2009, they bought equipment, and we'll kind of look at that question later on, like they bought equipment, and that was one reason that you said instead of buying the equipment, they should maybe buy it and lease it, or buy it on hire purchase. Okay, so you can kind of focus on a few little things that they might say. Like another way if you can do is like you go for a bank overdraft, apply for a bank loan, hire purchase instead of buying expensive equipment outright. Like imagine with this school, if we saw like, right, we need like, let's imagine we were like, right, in April coming up we'll have a deficit. Instead of buying that new photocopier, we'll lease it. So instead, let's say spend 100 grand on a new photocopier, you just lease the thing. And there's 3 ways. Okay, so you can lease equipment, apply for a bank overdraft, or take out a medium-term loan. They're like their solutions. So the whole thing. You spot a problem, but the whole thing about the cash flow forecast, they want you to be able to actually come up with a solution. So you mark that in there, and the solution you can fire in there is like a medium-term source of finance, like medium-term loan, or even short-term loan. Buy equipment, expense equipment on. Buy expensive equipment on hire purchase, and lease goods as well. One other thing as well, last you can fire in as well, is always going to be trade credit, but it's going to be broken down in the notes of detail there. Next one then is, right, the cash flow forecast and what are the benefits of it. So again, it'll all be broken down in the notes, but the easy one you can use is, the first thing it'll do is it'll highlight any problematic months, and then you can prepare solutions for that in advance. So again, you know the whole thing, you're predicting into the future. This is very easy. You can say like, right, we know in advance with that scenario over there that October and November are problematic months. So then we can prepare for that and say like, right, we'll cut back on expenditure that year, or that in those months. That's the first reason. Identify problematic months. The second thing it is though, we can also identify months you're going to have a surplus. And they'd be months that like will actually be quite good. And imagine if we did our cash flow forecast over the next like 5 months, we're like, right, geez, every month we're taking in more money than we're spending. Every month our receipts are going to be bigger than our payments. So we were like, right, we're in a great position. What we do then is you'd invest that excess cash. You can put that money into the bank and earn interest on it. So if you spot a few really, really good months, you see like, right, I'm going to have a big surplus, I'm going to have a lot of money coming in, put that money in the bank, earn interest on it. So that's the two things, right? Identify problematic months, identify also good months where you have a surplus. The other reason you'll do a cash flow forecast is it's essential if you want to apply for a bank loan, right? So if I'm applying for a finance, the bank's going to want to see my accounts, to see that I've got everything in order and see that I'm organised and stuff. So if I go in and I just say like, right, here's my projected profit and loss account, here's my cash flow forecast, here's my balance sheets, the bank's like, right, this is proper financial management, and they're much more likely going to give me a loan. But if I rock in and just like, look, I want a loan, I want to buy stuff, they're not going to give me a loan because they don't see that I've got my accounts in order. So if you want to get a loan, like even saying thing like if you want to get a loan off the bank, you'll have to have the cash flow forecast to impress them to show proper financial management. And then the last point on it. So you're going over that again quickly. First point, identify problematic months. It'll also identify months you have a surplus. You'll use it applying for a loan. And the last one as well is that your forecast can be monitored against your actual performance. So like imagine here if we did a forecast for like the next 3 months, okay? So then so if you're looking at now, we're in March now, and imagine we did one for April, May and June. What we could do then on the 1st of July is compare our actual accounts to what we'd forecasted for. And that's really good because that could highlight any areas of overspending, and then we can use that nearly as benchmarking. So we compare what we thought we'd have to what actually happened, and it's a good exercise to do in a business. It's a good way of controlling your money. So that's an easy enough one. The beauty of that question is like it's all kind of the same answers. You just kind of rattle that out, be fine. Last one is limitations. Now I'd be really paying a strong eye for this, right? And they asked this like they asked this last year even, they asked what are the limitations of the break-even chart, and it was a brilliant question for them to ask because what they're doing there at that is that they're actually showing, it's really good for like even leaving cert students to actually be thinking like, right, these things like what we're doing in business, like the break-even chart, the ratios, the cash flow forecast, they're not perfect, they're not these flawless mechanisms we have for determining like what's going to happen in the future and how our accounts are looking. So what you want to be able to spot, right, and think about this, they asked them to, if you look over the papers, 2016, 17, 18 and 19, they've always asked for limitations, and they've never ever asked that before. If you look over the papers from like 1999, 2015, nothing on limitations, right? Since then, last 4 years in a row, limitations have not come up every year. They haven't asked this yet, okay? And it's a lovely little question, and guys, bear in mind, the cash flow forecast hasn't come since 2017. So it'll be a lovely little question. They put this as a long question. Even if it came up in 2017 as a short question, hasn't come up as a long question since 2015, okay? But imagine they threw in the Leapsearch this year as a long question. That would be a brilliant question to ask. What are limitations? So pause it for a second, think to yourself, what are the actual limitations? So if you don't mind, we'll have a quick look over here again, right? And if you guys, what I advise you to do is actually just pause the video now for a second and think like, right, what are the limitations? So like these things up here, what are the actual limitations of it? Okay, so welcome back with this. So what you want to be able to spot, right, is the first thing there is the actual word forecast, right? So forecast, like a weather forecast, we're predicting into the future. So that's going to be a problem. So the first thing there is that like, what I'd always be looking out for is that like you may have, we'll go through them here. First thing is you may have unexpected events. Alright, so like even what we like even have now, like the coronavirus or anything like that, like that's going to have an impact on hundreds of businesses. Every business in the country is going to be affected by that. But that's an unaffected event. But imagine like they were doing this a month ago or 2 months ago, back in like December. No business would have been factoring this in their cash flow forecast. So the first thing we have is it doesn't account for unexpected events, okay? And an easy one to do is to just say the word recession. Build a word around that. If there's a recession, declining consumer expenditure, and this figure is going to drop. Okay, that's the first one, right? The second one then though, it also doesn't account for any unexpected payments. So imagine in our school if like both of the photocopiers went at once, alright, so like both photocopiers break, what we have to do then is we have to make sure we'll have to buy new ones. We can't just be like, okay, the students can just bring in an A4 pad. It doesn't work like that. So it doesn't account for unexpected payments that may arise, such as a breakdown in machinery, okay? Use that in your answer. So going over there, first one, doesn't account for how receipts will be affected, like recession, driving down demand, driving down sales. Second thing would be it doesn't account for any unexpected payments, like if the machinery breaks down. And the other thing again is just broad, unexpected external factors outside your business that it doesn't account for. It doesn't account for like if interest rates go up and your business has a loan, they're going to have to pay more interest. It doesn't account for rising fuel prices. Really, straightforward stuff. But if fuel prices go up, drives up your business, and basic things like that. It overlooks that, okay? But there are three big limitations, okay? So going over again, two of them inside the company. If your sales fall, okay, even due to like more competitors enter the market, and like that, more competitors coming in or recession, your sales drop, and like machinery breaks down, or you have to put your workers in overtime if something happens. It's not factoring that in. The last thing then is just external factors like fuel prices and interest rates and stuff like that. Okay, so that's the end of that. Okay, great work. Thanks, guys.